Hi there, Paul Raven, Brains for One and Barbells. Thank you ever so much for tuning back in. I'd like to make a really big shout out to everybody that has engaged within the content videos on my channel. My previous video on vitamin D has seen some excellent commentary and some excellent engagement, which only inspires me to move forwards and to create more informative research-based content. So as always, if you like the content that I'm producing, then please give the video a like, smash up that likes button, head down to the comment section below and make some noise. Let's try and get that YouTube algorithm working. Without further delay, let's talk protein. Proteins are an integral macronutrient with a unique set of characteristics. They are long complex chains of individual amino acids. These amino acids are in abundance. They can range from merely a few dozen to a few thousand. When proteins are broken down, they can form smaller polypeptide chains. Now, whilst these polypeptide chains are smaller than their original protein structure, they can still range from having 50 to 2,000 amino acids configured within their individual structures. These longer polypeptide chains eventually become cleaved down into their constituent amino acids. The rate in which this cleavage occurs is also dictated by enzymes. Coincidentally, enzymes are also formed from protein. This can occur within the digestive tract before the amino acids are absorbed into the bloodstream via the intestines. Likewise, amino acids have some of these unique structures, as when we observe their structure or nomenclature, we can observe that they are bound by a nitrogen group. Now, this unique aspect is really important, as nitrogen retention and nitrogen levels within the body have been linked to higher rates and higher levels of anabolism, the rate in which tissues grow and repair. I feel it's worth noting at this point that there are 20 different amino acids, 8 of which are considered essential amino acids. This means that we cannot synthesize and manufacture them within inside our own bodies. Therefore, we rely on obtaining these 8 essential amino acids through our diet. The other 12 amino acids are considered non-essential amino acids. Therefore, we can synthesize and create these within inside our bodies. Now, 3 of the 8 essential amino acids are coined branched-chain amino acids. These are isoleucine, leucine, and valine. Simply put, these are 3 key amino acids which are really important within stimulating muscle protein synthesis. So maybe what most individuals who are watching this video will want to know is that protein are in fact the key raw building materials utilised in the growth and repair and development of muscle tissue. And yes, whilst protein does serve this key function, they also serve as the raw materials for all cells of the body. Alongside this, they also serve an important role within that of hormone maintenance and synthesis, and also balance, as many key hormones within the body are also derived from protein bases. So just to touch upon what was mentioned earlier, the vast array of enzymes located throughout our body are also formed from the amino acids that make up proteins. And not to forget, there are many proteins that also function within our blood. We can't forget those such as hemoglobin, myoglobin, and other types of binding globulins. I would hope now that we have a little more of an appreciation as to the range and scope of the various different functions that protein support within our body. In 2017, it was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, a position stand on exercise and protein intake. It was deemed that for most healthy exercising individuals, 1.4 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram per day was to be intaken for optimal muscle growth and development. However, when individuals may be looking to restrict overall energy intake and preserve fat-free mass, larger intakes of protein may be required. I think it's also important to note that there are other models and formulas out there that look at protein intake on a gram per kilogram per day basis, but only account for lean body mass. So in these formulas that you may stumble across, they will also look at accounting for the calculation of grams of protein per kilogram of lean body mass per day. Now, whilst there are many different types of formulas and approaches that can be taken here, I for one advocate a more simplistic approach. I find this works more easily and more often, but not for the general individual. So my calculations will agree with those signposted within the International Society of Sports Nutrition's journal. Meanwhile, the Scientific Advisory Committee on Nutrition, as a part of their dietary reference values for protein, have noted that those individuals aged 19 to 64 as males should consume 55 grams of protein a day, with females only consuming 45 grams of protein per day. As you can tell, there is a stark difference between the recommendations provided by the Scientific Committee versus those recommendations provided by the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Now, at the serving level, a serving of 20 to 40 grams of protein has been observed to be most optimal at maximising muscle protein synthesis. In particular, the serving consisting of 700 milligrams to 3000 milligrams of the important branched chain amino acid leucine is also being considered within that dosage. So next time we start tucking into protein, make sure you're going to consume a protein source with adequate amounts of L-leucine so we can tap out and maximise our muscle protein synthesis response. With that, it would be rational to suggest that these figures would be more easily obtainable through foods such as meats, fish and dairy. This allows us to segue on quite nicely to the different sources of protein. So here we can look at different animal and marine sources, including poultry, beef and of course fish. We can look at also dairy sources, including those such as milk, whey and eggs, and not to forget also plant-based sources of protein, including those from beans and pulses. While plants do offer protein, they are significantly less within total percentage. Therefore, you would need to consume vast quantities and vast amounts of plant matter to even reach the lower levels of recommended dietary intakes of protein, let alone the dietary intakes of protein to support optimal muscle building and growth. Disclaimer: now what I'm not saying is that you cannot build muscle on a wholly plant-based diet. However, what I am saying is, for the many, eating a wholly plant-based diet may not be most optimal at building muscle. Now, what you can do is, if you are engaging in a wholly plant-based diet for whatever reason, you may want to consider additional supplementation to support your dietary intakes of protein also. With that being said, achieving even the minimum 1.4 grams per kilogram of body mass per day in protein intake using a wholly plant-based diet would need to be treated cautiously, as adequate amounts of leucine would also need to be obtained via these protein intakes, as we already know that leucine plays a key factor within the stimulation of muscle protein synthesis. Now, to illustrate this further, 90 grams of raw broccoli provides roughly 3 grams of protein. That being said, broccoli has been widely noted upon to be a vegetable that is really high in protein in comparison to other plants and vegetables, with 30% of its dry weight coming from simply protein, and with the majority of its weight coming from water and to a lesser extent plant fibre. Now, with our previously identified serving of 20 to 40 grams of protein per sitting for optimal muscle protein synthesis, you would need to consume a whopping 630 grams of broccoli to yield just 21 grams of protein, and over a kilo, or more specifically 1170 grams of broccoli to yield just 39 grams of protein. So you think that was an eye-watering amount of those little green trees. With our previously recommended 700 milligrams to 3000 milligrams of that crucially essential amino acid, leucine, used to maximize muscle protein synthesis, over 5.3 kilograms of broccoli would need to be eaten to obtain just 700 milligrams of L-leucine, with over 23 kilos of broccoli needing to be consumed to obtain just that 3000 milligrams of that all-important L-leucine, with the amino acid L-leucine making up lower total percentages of foods such as wheat, soy, peas, rice and quinoa. Okay, time out. Don't let me go any further with this. Time out. Okay, so I know here that I've only used one type of plant source. I have generalized almost here a little bit, but To the inexperienced individual with low dietary tolerances for fibre, this may come with a whole host of digestive issues. This may cause an array of feeling digestive irritability to feeling discomfort or cramping or other gastric related discomforts. So when you are navigating a high plant-based diet, if you are not very initiated or if you are not very tolerated to these high levels of fibre, this should be something that you treat with caution. To draw a comparison here, if you're looking at around 3 ounces of cooked chicken breast or ground beef, you're looking at around the 25 to 26 grams worth of protein. If we're looking at protein sources that come from those such as whey, so if we're looking at whey protein shakes, we can look at the typical 30-gram scoop of dry whey. Once shaken up with water, you'll be able to yield around 21 to 24 grams of protein from that. So hopefully I've answered some of the more burning questions around protein, structures, functions, intakes and sources. As always, if you found today's video informative, if you found it beneficial to yourself, if you found value within the video, please again smash up that like button, please hit subscribe, and again make some noise down below in the comment section. Let me know about your protein intake and how much protein you're aspiring to intake to achieve those more maximised and more optimised intake levels for muscle building. And again, till next time, take care.